mentioned the thing about Ted Templeman and him not seeing, like, what Roth... I mean, Roth was Roth back when he was, like, a kid. Like, he was that guy. He was, like, the whole attitude, the whole chip and, you know, wit and all that. That was all there. I mean, he's just right there. So one of the lines I thought was great in the VH1 special was, I don't know if there is a Van Halen without David Lee Roth. I know that no one cares about Van Halen if David Lee Roth is not in the band. I'm the Toastmaster General of the immoral majority. And then Sammy Hagar said, Dave's so full of himself, and to me it doesn't work anymore. And they cut to Dave and he's like, I don't see there's a whole lot of comparison. Sam throws a party, I am the party. Which is like hysterical.
That's like a great line, but
totally.
also illustrates the size of David Lee Roth's ego.
Oh, yeah, it's gargantuan. But
which is unbelievable because up until that tour, like he really had nothing to brag about. You know, he was at his lowest in terms of career-wise.
Right, absolutely. But you'll find out from the interview we did with Brian Young. He'll tell you David Lee Roth he's just a piece of goddamn work, man. The way he talks about himself, and it was hysterical. So now, if you all remember, Sam and Dave appeared on the MTV Video Music Awards, the VMAs, and they presented the Best Rock Video to Linkin Park, and they both came out, and, you know, Hagar was kind of razzing Roth. This is like the end of the tour. I think the tour was over at this point. It was
it was either over or almost over.
I think it was over. Okay. Dave comes out, and of course he takes over, and he goes off script, and he's like, look at all the people here tonight, you know. And so Sam says, it's good to see you, Dave. Where you been all summer? You know, obviously he's going to throw in a little jab, because almost like I've been knocking on your door to you know, sing a song. Right. Remember, he promised when he was with Kid Rock that they would come out and do a song. Throughout the entire freaking tour, never did they come on stage together. And
such a wasted opportunity.
Just ridiculous. But here's the thing. So my question to you, Dave, is if you get them to go on stage together, what do you think they should do?
Ain't Talking About Love.
Yeah, I guess that's a good one to do, right? I mean, but here's the thing. Is Sammy going to get mad that's a Dave song?
Dave's not doing a Sam song. I mean, it's just not happening.
Well, I don't know. I tell you, I think I would go with maybe a more in the middle song. Like maybe we should have them do a cover. You know what I'm saying? Like maybe they should have done.
Well, and if they actually agreed on a song, that probably, you know, would probably be like You Really Got Me or something neutral like that.
Right.
But don't have them get on stage and start doing a cover of a song these guys haven't played before.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face facts.
Sam
has like a handful of Van Halen songs that he will sing.
Right.
So have him do one of those. And I know one of them was Ain't Talking About Love.
Right. What about You Really Got Me? Isn't that fair?
You could do... No, you could do that one too. That's fair too.
How about Jump? I mean, and then Sammy does Top of the World.
Well, right. Yeah. But I mean, Ain't Talking About Love. I mean, that is a fist pumping song.
Yeah, of
right?
course it is.
People will go knocking futz seeing those two guys sing it
totally.
together.
And you know what? It's a good vocal range for both of them.
Exactly. Yeah. It's easy. I mean, if Sam wants to prove he could blow Dave off the stage,
right?
I mean, that's well, it could be any song. Quite frankly, if they're going to have a vocal challenge, but that right? I mean, I'm not going to lie about that. But honestly, that's one that'll do it.
Right. So now getting back to the VMAs, David Lee Roth, so Sam goes, where you been all summer? And Dave says, I've been on the Celebrity Deathmatch tour. And he says, okay, Dave, I don't need the money yet. You can tell Sam is bitter as fuck on this thing. So, yeah. So then Dave starts trying to go for lighter fare. And he says, what's your favorite Linkin Park song, Sam? Because Linkin Park was up for Best Rock Video, and they're the ones who won. And Sam goes, I don't know any Linkin Park songs, Dave. Like, he was kind of like a sourpuss, you know? So later that evening, to make up...
Did you notice that when they got introduced, they introduced them, and then they switched their names and introduced them again?
Oh, my God. That is... Yes.
Because that is how ridiculous it was.
Right, they have Sammy Hagar and David Lee Roth and Sammy Hagar.
Right. Like, God. And then they came out on different sides of the stage.
Of course.
I mean, that's
a shit show again, all over again. The VMAs. So now,
always the VMAs when you invite members of Van Halen.
That's right.
It's
right.
got to be a shit show.
So yeah, it's the truth. So that's kind of funny. So now, Dave, was it that night that Sammy did that show at Irving Plaza in New York City? I think it was that night, wasn't it?
Oh, that's a good question.
I think it was. I
think you're right.
Yeah, I think
you're right.
Yeah, and it was a free show that was like where half the tickets were distributed to New York police and fire departments from like a 9/11 tribute type of thing. And both Michael Anthony and Gary Cherone joined him on stage in what
Mikey was there. Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah. And that was like a whole thing. That was sort of the end of the whole thing. But then looking back on the tour, see what you think about this. This is my thought. We talk about, I thought what would have been a great idea for the tour is if they recorded a song together where they're both on it and they make it like a single that promoted the tour. And what I would have done is I would have like Desmond Child write like a guaranteed hit, like a real strong single that could have been like a summer rock song. And I would have had it made as a duet between Dave and Sam and playing to their strengths, right? And I would have had them close the entire show with them duetting on that song. That song
Great idea.
That song could have
Great idea.
That song could have helped promote and sell the tour, and it could have also created a safe space for both of them to sing. This way, Dave could do his catalog, Sam could do his catalog. They come out at the end of the show and they just blow the audience away with this one track. I thought that would have been amazing. That's really the way
non-dysfunctional artists would have done that. Yes.
Interesting enough is Sammy ends up releasing a new album after the tour. Like literally a month or two after the tour, he releases Not For Sale, which was...
Not for sale.
It literally was like you couldn't even find this fucking thing. It was ridiculous.
Well, I think the record company went under.
Yeah, it was a mess.
That's what happened, which is too bad because I'm partial to that album.
Great album.
It really rocks, and I like that album a lot.
I also felt like, I guess, it's hard to say, right? But like I thought this tour could have been longer. Like it really wasn't that long. It was like 2 months. It wasn't that long, and it was lucrative. Apparently, financially, it did very well. But I guess it was such a mess to put on that.
Yeah, and I didn't realize there was that break in the summer.
Yeah,
that's interesting. That's
huge
crazy.
Month break, which I thought was incredible. So now the funny thing is, looking back on the whole thing, Sammy says he'll never tour with David Lee Roth again. He was in Guitar World magazine reflecting on the tour, and he says, I think it was pretty good, but it could have been a heck of a lot better. Dave's an unreasonable guy, and he's not a cool guy. He's not a fun guy. He's got this persona, this image like he's Mr. Party, but the guy's Mr. fucking uptight. I mean, you can't even imagine. Boy, I hate to even say I'm sorry I did something, so I can't say I'm sorry I did it. But I certainly wouldn't do it again. Let's put it like that. I spent 5 years of my life with the Wobble-Ritas, building my audience, catering only to them, and trying to shed myself of Van Halen. Not because I'm not proud of what they did with them, but I'm not in Van Halen anymore. It's time to move on. I thought I'd made so much headway, and then I got out there with Dave. And once I got involved with him, I realized I was thrown right back into the Van Halen arena, and I was an ex-Van Halen singer. And 3 of 4,000 fans who had just come to see me each night, they got it. But those 7,000 to 8,000 fringe people that came to see the Van Halen singers, not David Lee Roth because he doesn't have any fans, they didn't get it. The whole tour threw me right back into where I had to compete with a guy that I shouldn't have been competing with. Dave doesn't belong with me. Dave belongs with those Poison and Rat tours, which are fine, but you know what you're getting. You're going for this 80s trip, and that's where Dave belongs. When you start putting on a platinum wig, wearing spandex bell-bottoms, singing all Van Halen shit, doing the classic leap off the drumizer. I mean, he was pretending he was in Van Halen. And I'm going, oh boy, look at what I've let my manager and my agent talk me into. Because my first gut was, nah, I don't trust this guy. Then everybody said, are you crazy? This could be the biggest tour of the summer. And by the time you finish this tour, you will have tripled your audience. And I started thinking, maybe it'll be fun. Maybe Dave will be cool. And he wasn't. It was great for the fans, but if he had been cooler, it would have been so much greater. I hit on him about doing a duet every night for 3 weeks of the first leg, and he would say, yeah, well, maybe tomorrow night my throat ain't feeling so good. I see now that he's insecure. He's not a great singer, and maybe he didn't want to stand out there and sing with me, but I wasn't about that. I was like, okay, we'll do one of your songs, Dave. I don't even give a shit. Let's give these people a treat and show them we're together on this, and it's cool instead of making it such a WWF thing. He tried to lower my whole trip, you know? Other than that, the shows were awesome. So, Sammy, I tell you, but he
Other than that, the shows were awesome.
Talk about a fucking epilogue. And then Sammy said he insisted that the rivalry between him and Roth was played up, except for the one night where they had the dust up backstage.
Well, he said that years later, I think he claimed that, right?
No, yeah. He said it was totally played up. There wasn't any animosity. Well, there was one crazy moment in Raleigh, Carolina, where Dave flipped out, where we were flip-flopping headliners, and when Dave opened, he was much better off. I had Michael Anthony in my band, and we played 4 or 5 Van Halen songs. Dave did all his 83, 84 stuff with the scarves and stuff, and it was like a karaoke band compared to what we were doing. He'd be in a bad mood when he was headlining because you can't follow us. And then he said that the things came to a head when they prepared to go on after Hagar. He's walking to the stage all dressed up, and my drummer, and then he talks about the drummer, hey ladies, and the fuck you, and you're a motherfucker, and, you know, back and forth. But they
I don't know why these guys couldn't get it together. I mean, it's speaking of getting it together, what we haven't mentioned yet is that when they played in Boston, Gary Sharon showed up.
Right.
And Mikey was at that show.
Right.
And so Gary came out. He did When It's Love.
Right.
With Sam.
Right.
Now Sam's got to be a big enough guy.
Yeah.
To bring out the guy who replaced him.
Oh, sure.
And Mike's there too. And I think they maybe even done Rock and Roll.
Yeah.
Or maybe did that in New York. I'm not sure. But either way, it just goes to show that Sam was fine working with other people.
Yeah.
And it's very noticeable that Dave didn't do that. He didn't come out for that. And the fact that Mike played with Sam on this tour and never once played with Dave speaks volumes. Volumes. Right there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It was just sad.
Yeah.
It's just sad at the wasted opportunity there.
Absolutely. And then Sam had wrapped things up by saying in this Guitar World thing, Dave and I don't hate each other, but if we saw each other, we'd hug and buy each other a drink. I don't know how long we'd hug for, but we'd hug. Which I thought was kind of funny. And, you know, I tell you, but what an interesting experiment, if you consider it. But I really think the problem was this, Dave. I really think that they both had different agendas. Like, Dave had the idea of marketing this rivalry thing going. Now, if you're going to do that, that's fine. And that's right up your alley. You're always like, Dave versus Sam. You know, you're all into that.
Right.
So now, here's the thing. Now, if you do that, you got to have both sides on the same page to do that. You can't have one guy do that and the other guy, you know, in Margaritaville. I mean, like, it just doesn't flow. It doesn't flow because it's like Dave's coming out, he's playing all his Van Halen, he's fucking kicking ass, and then Sam comes out and it's like, da, 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 living on sponge cake.
And I remember when we saw them, I thought, you got to be all in. And when we saw them, I mean, I know we prefer Dave. Yeah. Because, I mean, we prefer Dave anyway. Yeah. We like that catalog better. Right. But all that stuff together. Right.
It was like a Van Halen show. Yeah.
Yes.
And then when Sammy came, the mode changed because he didn't have that energy of a like a hard rock show. Like he he had more of this, hey, waitress. He kept calling for the waitress.
It was a different kind of energy.
Yeah, it was a totally different thing. And they weren't like cohesive. Like if Sam came out and did a set that was more geared in line with Dave, in the sense that, like, you know, do your Van Halen set with all your rockers, but he told you straight out, like, I'm no ex-singer of Van Halen. Like, he says it right in the thing.